Ladies and gents, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an iPod Touch 5th generation. This is a 32 gigabyte model, and there's not really much special about it other than I paid exactly $31 for this iPod. I thought that was a good deal. It appeared to be in good condition, but let's get it opened up, talk about this thing, and see if it's a good value here in 2024. All right, here is our iPod Touch. You can see it is the silver and white color. It's definitely a 5th gen because we do have the Apple loop little mechanism down here. It looks to be in decent condition. Sometimes these are actually bent, but this one looks like it is not bent in any way. The display does not have any cracks, and there might be a few small scratches. It's a little dirty. I'm going to get it cleaned up here in just a second. We do have a pretty significant scuff mark up here next to the camera. That corner's good, and the rest of it looks good. Maybe a few more little nicks and dents around the edges here. And yeah, let's see if this thing has any power. All right, we're met with the Apple logo. I'm going to go ahead and connect this to power because these are notorious for having really bad batteries. iPod Touches have always had worse batteries than their iPhone counterparts. I'm not sure why that is. For example, the iPod Touch does not even get battery percentage because for whatever reason the battery is not capable of that or something. I don't know why the iPods always get low quality batteries, but they seem to wear out quicker. The battery life's not as good, and over time they don't hold up as long as iPhones. I've rarely ever had any iPhones have completely dead batteries that don't work, but iPods I've had quite a few. And here we go. We are met at the iOS 9 home screen, I believe this is. We'll head into settings, general, and about to verify that. So 9.3.5, this is of course a 32 gig model. The iPod Touch 5th gen here launched in 2012. I don't know if it was the same event that Apple had for the iPhone 5, but this iPod was introduced with 32 and 64 gigabyte capacities. This was the first iPod that did not show the capacities on the back, interestingly enough. But this iPod changed a lot and was a big improvement on the 4th gen. First, we have a 5 megapixel camera. I think it's the same one from the iPhone 4, but it has some different lenses, so it takes better quality photos and videos. It's got a flash here. It's much thinner. This is one of the thinnest Apple products Apple has ever made. I think the only one that's thinner than this is this iPod Nano 7th gen. I could be wrong. Maybe some of those other iPod Nanos were thinner, but this thing is incredible. This was actually the first Apple device to feature a camera bump. So the iPod was so thin that even with this 5 megapixel lens, Apple had to add a camera bump for it all to fit. Of course, Apple introduced a larger display here, which was an improvement over the 3.5-inch display here on the 4th gen that it replaced. Apple also added this aluminum back instead of the stainless steel that the previous generation iPods all had, and it feels much more premium. The buttons are nice. We had the return of this Wi-Fi Bluetooth antenna that was present in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd generation iPod Touches, as you can see there. But the 4th gen got rid of it. Not really sure why or where it ended up, but the iPod Touch 5th generation brought that back. The 5th gen also has Siri. So this was the first iPod that would get Siri. And it was kind of a mixed bag on which Apple A5 chip devices received Siri. So the iPad 2 did not. The iPhone 4S did. The iPod Touch 5th gen did. The iPad 3rd gen did. So I guess every A5 device except for that 2nd gen iPad. So as I was mentioning earlier, there is no battery percentage on this iPod. There's no battery health either. So if you open the battery tab inside of settings, you're not getting a whole lot of usable information there. Just the time since last charge and battery usage. Another interesting note is if we head into the display and brightness settings, there is no auto brightness, whereas the previous generation iPod Touches all had that. If this will work here, come on. Yep, it just died. All right. I think this 3rd gen will show it. So if we go into settings, brightness, you can see this has auto brightness. The first, second, third, and fourth generation iPod Touches all had that, but the fifth gen does not. So for whatever reason, Apple removed the ambient light sensor. I'll see if I can show it to you here on this iPod. Sometimes it's really hard to see. Maybe if we get the light just right here, I'm going to use the flash from this one. Let's see, it's somewhere up there at the top. Not sure we're going to be able to spot it here. But essentially, actually I can show you here on this, the 4S, you see this is, it's more complicated here on the iPhone, but because it's also a proximity sensor. But the previous generation iPods had that ambient light sensor. I think we might be able to, wow, you can't see it there either. Okay, well, you'll have to take my word for it. The 5th gen iPod Touch does not have that. So should you use one of these here in 2024, more than 10 years after this was launched? Well, truthfully, I don't see why not. If you're using this as an iPod, it's fantastic. And the reason I say that is because you get Apple Music that was introduced in, I believe, iOS 8.4. And you can still sign in with your Apple ID here on this iPod and connect to Apple Music and download your entire Apple Music library and keep it up to date. That's something you cannot do on any of the previous iPod Touches. Although a jailbreak tweak for that would be excellent. I'm not sure if that exists. Of course, you've still got the headphone jack, although iOS 9 and this iPod do not support lossless audio. I think you're going to have to get the iPod Touch 7th gen in order to do that. You do still have access to the App Store, which is not going to load because I'm offline, but you can download some older apps and games and run them here. This is a dual-core A5 processor. I believe it's underclocked, maybe 800 megahertz compared to the full 1 gigahertz on the iPad models. And it's pretty capable, but if you start getting into some more demanding games such as Minecraft, then this thing is going to struggle. Good for light games like Temple Run and Subway Surfer. I don't know if you can log into social media such as Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat. I don't know if those work on iOS 9. You can test that out yourself. But overall, it's a very clean device, super thin, super light. If you're looking to pick up one of these, try to get one in good condition and try to get one with a good battery. That's almost impossible to tell because there is no battery health inside of settings. Although I think you can connect it to a computer and see the battery cycles on there, but I'd imagine the person you're buying this from is not going to know how to do that. So there you have it. This thing also has a pretty good camera. So you can take pictures, upload them to iCloud, send them via iMessage, all that sort of thing. You do get FaceTime, which is nice. And yeah, still a very capable iPod. The shortcomings are going to be the battery and the lack of lossless audio. You can connect these to AirPods. I don't know how well they work with the new AirPods Pro in terms of like noise cancellation and that sort of thing, but I am almost positive they will connect because I know these will actually connect to the iPod Nano 7th gen can actually connect to AirPods. So that's pretty sweet that Apple has allowed that to happen. All right, that's going to do it for this video. It was a quick little overview here of the iPod Touch 5th gen. My plan for this is going to be to downgrade it to iOS 8 and then dual boot it to iOS 6. Something I have not done before, but I'm going to try to make a video on that. So if you are interested in seeing how to do that, make sure you stay tuned for that video. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in another video.